That's right. Mama said knock you out. That's what we're doing here each week. Knocking out deception, the propaganda, the outright lies being told by our government on, well, almost an hourly basis. I was going to say daily, but the lies come out way more often than that. Welcome back to the second half hour of the big show this week. You're listening to the Patrick Reagan Show here on the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network and News Talk 98.7 WOKI. Every week I get lots of emails about the show, and I also run into quite a few listeners on the street. Occasionally some of these people ask me, Patrick, why don't you just throw in the towel on all this? The country's lost. Too many people are getting government aid. Too many people have a vested interest in having government running everyone's lives. Americans are sheep. There's a few people who try to stand out and be patriots and fight for our natural human rights, but most people just aren't interested. To bolster their argument about the lack of support for the ideas of freedom and liberty, they'll frequently point to the Revolutionary War, where most people in this country weren't fighting. In fact, quite a few people supported the British. They'll tell me, you see, even back then, as important as the war for independence was, we couldn't get widespread support for freedom and liberty. Listen, I know this argument is attractive. I know it's really easy to give in and start thinking this way, especially when you watch the news and listen to the radio and even talk to your fellow citizens. What I always ask these people is, though, if the odds were so stacked against these patriots fighting this war, if they were such a small minority and they only had about 30% of the people supporting them, then why did they win the war? How were these patriots triumphant against what was then a world power? It's because they didn't give up. What if they had said, oh, everybody's right. We can't win this war. There just isn't enough of us to make a difference, to make any changes, to win our freedom from England. So let's just not bother. Let's just let this rickety government the king is trying to run from across the ocean collapse. Then those people who love the British so much will see that system just won't work here. We've had some defeats. We're not so sure we're going to win. The war just isn't going in our favor. Let's just drop all of this, face reality, and just go home. What would happen if those soldiers just gave up? We certainly wouldn't have won the war for independence, not at that time anyway. And having given up on it once, it would just be that much easier to do it again and again. Hey, it didn't work that first time we tried it. Let's just give up again. The reason we didn't do this is because it's not the American way. Or at least it didn't used to be. Americans didn't give up. They kept pushing and pushing until they made it. They didn't quit. In fact, we look down on people who did quit, who did give up the fight. But now we're taught that it's okay to quit. It's okay not to achieve. We have whole youth sports leagues who don't keep score, so no one will get their feelings hurt. How can you get any better if you don't keep score? Is the goal in life just to keep busy? Is that what we're teaching our children now? Getting better isn't the goal. Don't compare your score this week to last week's and try to do better. Just running up and down the field, just looking busy, that's the goal now? Those patriots fighting for our independence would be shocked to see that this is what our country has evolved into. How we've let their hard work, their blood, sweat, and tears, all that effort, we've let all of that go to waste. How we have a lot of people in this country who just want to throw all that away. Also, some busybodies in Washington can rule over us. A bunch of wimps and pansies, people with no backbone, who wouldn't be qualified to be cheerleaders on the sidelines in the game of American life. These are the people who defeated you? That's what these patriotic soldiers would be asking us. These are the people you allowed to defeat you? This bunch of whiny little children are the ones that defeated this nation. After we fought our hearts out against the British, a highly trained army, real men fighting us, and you lost this country to these weenies? I hope you would feel embarrassed at the thought of facing one of these gritty soldiers and having to explain how you were beaten by these sissies in government. Personally, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm not just going to hand my precious freedom and liberty over to a bunch of mama's boys in government. It's just not going to happen. I'm not a quitter who's going to roll over and let you trample my freedom under the boots of government. Patrick Henry was right when he stated, "Is life so dear or peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death." That's this radio show. If I can't have liberty, then I'd rather be dead. What's living without your freedom and liberty? Here's a fun fact. It isn't. But too many people in this country are willing to not live. Just survive. Just look busy. Not improve. Not do better than yesterday. Not excel at their chosen profession. No, they just want to give up everything they have for the supposed security of government. God help us all if we lose the patriots fighting against this type of society. Fighting against this culture of, it's okay to be mediocre. It's okay to restrict freedom and liberty. It's okay to look to government for answers instead of yourself or your community. For goodness sakes, we have a president whose sole intent seems to be to bring down this American spirit of freedom and independence. Every problem needs a government solution. You can't make it on your own. You have to have government in your life. 90% of what a true leader does is to be a cheerleader, to tell people you can do it. You don't need government. You have within you the drive to be successful. All you need to do is harness it. Another 5% or so is removing the obstacles of the people trying to follow your advice. That's what a true leader does. They get people started in the right direction and then get out of the way. I guess in that context, though, Obama is a leader. He's leading people down the road to more government, and he's definitely removing the obstacles towards that goal. I guess I should rephrase those statements I just made. A good leader does this. I mentioned this before, but it strikes me the parallels between government and a cult. They both have charismatic leaders. They both want to take over your lives, want you to feel like you can't live without them. They both want to cut you off from the people who might tell you something different. They both try to make you paranoid about those who don't agree with you, who aren't part of the cult, part of the faith. And oftentimes, the people within the cult will defend to the death their leader and his or her principles and goals. If you try to talk to them, if you try to rescue them from the cult, they'll often fight you over it. And if not them, the other cult members will. They'll fight to keep this person under the control of the cult. They don't want any outside information getting through. That's why I'm here each and every week on this radio show. That's why we're putting our website together to help spread the word. That's why we're working to get this show on as many radio stations as we can. And with your help and your listenership, we will succeed at that. We're up on, the last break already here on the Patrick Riggins Show. We're officially now in the holiday season, and we'll have a little holiday message for you in the last segment. So join us, won't you, here on the Patrick Riggins Show and the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network.